swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawly Jean.
Woo-wee, Cub fans. You are listening to Season 4, Episode 36. Cubs win 7 series in a row. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe, and most importantly, review our podcast. Follow on all these socials. You can follow me at Crawly's Cubs on X, Blue Sky and TikTok, at Crawly's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. You can email us at crawlysclubhouse@gmail.com. What a series for the Cubs. And you know, the Cubs just finished a 21-game series versus teams under 500. And just to see them, you know, finish that 16-5, beating teams that you're supposed to beat. That's what they did. And you know, taking care of business once again, this time in Washington, D.C. As you may or may not know, I am heading with Club 400 to the Motor City. That would be tomorrow. We're leaving bright and early, so I took a break from packing just so we could kind of break down what happened against the Nationals, and it pretty much went exactly like we thought it would. We thought that Game 1 should be a game that the Cubs should win. They did. We thought Game 2 was going to be a tough task versus Mackenzie Gore. It was. And Game 3, thought that the Cubs should take that one as well, and so that's how it ends up. Now, if we rewind back to Monday, that was a Cubs win 8-3. And so the Nationals on that one, that was Cade Horton versus Trevor Williams. The Nationals tried to do something a little sneaky against Cade Horton. They went with an all-lefty lineup. Now, righties have been hitting 250 against Cade. Lefties hitting a 288. Wasn't a bad plan, right? First batter, C.J. Abrams singles, steals second, moves to third on a ground out, and scores on a Luis Garcia single to put the Nationals up 1-0. Now, the Nationals struck again in the third. Horton gave up a leadoff walk, gave up a double, air quotes, that was off the glove of Michael Busch. Michael Busch knows he should have made that play, so there was runners at second and third with no outs. And, you know, I don't know about you guys. I have been saying over and over again that the scorekeeping has just been bad. There's no way that wasn't an error. I don't know who was in charge. I mean, I know there's always hometown scoring, blah, blah, blah. But come on, man, that was so obviously an error, but it went as a double. And so whatever. And unfortunately, both of those runs would come around to score on a ground out and a sac fly. So those two runs go against Cade Horton. And so when we end up looking at that one, Dustin, I was saying that, you know, Michael Busch should have made that play on Monday night. But Cade did well. Again, just what we talked about. 5 1/3 innings, gave up those 3 runs, 6 hits, 1 walk, and 3 Ks. It was just another gritty start for Cade Horton, who would pick up his 3rd win, Dustin. But he just keeps making the case that, like, how could you take this guy out of the rotation?
Yeah, it's not time to do that. There's no doubt about that. Really, gritty is a great word for what we've been seeing out of him so far. You know, it's not perfect. It's far from perfect, but it's far from crap either. So he is really learning. He's really learning on the fly. I think they're going to have to be careful, right? They're going to have to watch the pitch count and things like that, and see how that progresses along. But no, right now, you know, you're not taking him out of the lineup anytime soon.
No. And we knew that the Cubs offense would have no problem with Trevor Williams. The one thing, Dustin, I know when this series started, I said on the last podcast, I wanted to see how the Cubs offense did away from Wrigley, where it's been cold, the wind has been blowing in. And I thought they had a really good series. But in this game, top of the second, Michael Busch would triple, score on a Dansby Swanson sac fly to tie the game at 1. Top of the 4th, PCA leads off with a double. He steals 3rd base for his 20th steal of the season. And then once again, PCA with that chaos he causes, a ball is hit to 3rd baseman Jose Tena, and he immediately looks at Pete, who's deacon, like he's going to go home. He holds the ball rather than throw it to first because he was scared Pete would score. That is just the kind of effect that PCA has on people. And I think it's going to be fun, Dustin, the series coming up against Detroit, to have Pete and Javi on the same field at the same time.
Yes, it is. There'll be a little magic, little showmanship. Two guys that know how to play to the cameras. I'm really looking forward to it. They're expecting 40,000 plus for the next 3 nights. Or, not all night games, but the next 3 days games up there. It's going to be rocking and rolling.
So after that play, the Cubs have runners at first and third, no out. Michael Busch singles. Pete scores, and once again, the Cubs have runners at the corner. Dansby did a sac fly, and the Cubs tie the game at 3. Both runs come as a result of PCA causing his chaos, Dustin. But when I look at this right here, when you look at PCA and what he is doing, this is where he has fewest games to 15 home runs and 20 stolen bases since 1900. Eric Davis only took him 40 games to do it. Ken Williams in 1922 took him 54. Bobby Bonds, not Barry, Bobby did it in 1973, took him 59. PCA, 60 games to get to 15 home runs, 20 RBIs. And then Bo Jackson, 1989 with the Royals, did it in 61 games. But again, he's just kind of breaking all sorts of records that have stood for a long time and getting mentioned with some of this elite company here.
Yeah, those are some really good names. Yeah, I mean, the guy is just unbelievable. He gets people to do things they don't normally do. People just freak out every time he's up. He gets on base. A single's worth a double and a double's worth a triple. He's getting an extra 90 feet, it seems like, every time.
Yep, and the Cubs were not done with Williams. Top of the 5th, Matt Shaw doubles, Ian Happ singles to put runners at the corners. Seiya with the sac fly to put the Cubs ahead for the first time in the game, 4-3. PCA drew a walk. Carson Kelly singles to load the bases. Michael Busch draws a bases-loaded walk to put the Cubs up 5-3. Williams' day is done, but another former Cub comes in, Andrew Chafin, the sheriff, with his flow, with his bleacher Jeff flow and the mustache. He comes into the game. Base is still loaded, 1 out. He strikes out Dansby Swanson for a big second out. But once again, Mr. Clutch, Nico Horner, singles and scores 2 more runs. Cubs are up 7-3. The Cubs scored 4 times in the 5th inning and batted around. When we talk about Nico, look at this chart here, Dustin. Most hits with runners in scoring position. Nico, after this game, led the team with 26. Seiya Suzuki 24, PCA 4. But let's take a look even further at the all-time greats in recent history. These are Cubs batting averages with runners in scoring position. Mark Grace, 315 average. Nico, 312. Aramis Ramirez, 311 average with runners in scoring position. Derek Lee, 309. Minimum 500 games played since 1974. Do you know what 3 of those...
Nice company. That's really nice company.
You know what 3 of those 4 guys have in common?
I do, I bet, I think.
What do you got?
Cubs Hall of Fame.
Cubs Hall of Fame, exactly. I know we're going to talk about Ian Happ in tonight's game. Nico Horner, when you think about the future, I mean, that's a pretty impressive, group to be part of there. But the Cubs offense scored 8 runs on 9 hits, 5 walks. PCA stole 2 bases. Nico stole 1, and the team was 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Michael Busch was 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs, and he was only a double short of a cycle. Plus, he had that RBI walk. So that was a fun win on Monday.
That was a great win, Crawly. Great way to get this thing going in DC.
Yep. And so game 2 is Matt Boyd versus Mackenzie Gore. We said that was going to be
This is the one, Crawly. This is the one we warned everybody about. We were all nervous about this one. And, Matthew Boyd, Crawly, was really good. The problem was Mackenzie was better.
Yeah, a little bit better. And his offense was able to kind of do something for him, which the Cubs offense unfortunately didn't. Matt Boyd hadn't lost a decision since April 16th. Mackenzie Gore leads all baseball in strikeouts. And we got the pitcher's duel we were looking for. Matt Boyd pitched an incredible game. He retired the first 16 batters he faced. He had a perfecto going through 6 1/3 innings. He was helped in the bottom of the 5th with 2 outs when PCA made another Gold Glove catch over his shoulder about 2 feet of the wall to Rob Alex.
What a catch
of extra bases. That kept the no-hit bid alive. Again, just continuing to impress everybody. But then Dustin, with 1 out in the 6th, home plate umpire Shane Livensparger made a critical call on the 4th pitch to Nasim Nunez. Here was the sequence. If you're watching at Crawley's clubhouse, it's that fourth pitch. It hit the upper quadrant. I mean, it wasn't an egregious call, but when you've got a guy going for a perfecto, you think you're going to give him the call. We're going to talk a little bit about the ABS in segment 2, but man, if the fifth pitch is a called strike, if they would have called that probably would have been, he probably would have struck him out, and that might have changed what happens next. Either or, the inning should have been over. Nunez was caught stealing for the second out, but the next batter, Robert Hassel, singled to end the no-hit bid before C.J. Abrams ground out to end the threats. Who knows what would have happened if the home plate ump had made the right call, but there's nothing we can do till next year, right?
No, nothing you can do now. It's all over. But yeah, that was not the best play. There were some in this game. There's a couple of situations with the umpires, but I'm not sure that it would have definitely impacted. No way to tell.
No.
But there were a couple of things in this game that we'll talk about that were not fantastic by the guys in blue.
Now, on the flip side, Mackenzie Gore was pitching a great game as well. The Cubs had Gore on the ropes in the first inning. First 3 battles, single to load the bases with no outs. I'm thinking, here you go. With a guy like Gore, you may have one chance, you know what I mean? In the first inning, if he's not settled in. You've seen that happen with great pitchers in the past. Unfortunately, though, he ended up getting Dansby to strike out, PCA and Dansby to strike out, and got Nico to pop out to end the threat. I mean, look, he has the ability to strike outs, and that's when you have that ability to miss bats, Dustin, you can get out of those type of jams. Now, if it would have been Trevor Williams, bases loaded, no outs, and you can't score, I would have been really pissed off. Against Mackenzie Gore, like I said, he leads the leagues in strikeouts, and that's going to happen. You still got to try to find a way to get the bat on the ball, but that's what makes him such a great pitcher. The Cubs had a few more opportunities with runners in scoring position. Unfortunately, they all came with 2 outs. In the third and fourth innings, the Cub had runners at second with 2 outs, couldn't score a run. In the fifth, and I think this was what you were talking about, alluding to earlier with 2 outs.
Yes.
Seiya hits a ball that looked like outfielder Alex called trapped. They challenged it, but they said the call on the field stayed. I've seen a million pictures that look like the ball hit the ground.
Well, I mean, at one point, there's no doubt the ball is on the ground and the glove is not around the ball. I just don't understand. They make such a big deal, and they do this in all sports. This is a sport problem. It's not just a baseball problem. There's such a huge impact of what is called on the field having an effect on the actual final outcome, right? If it would have been called the other way, right? If it would have been flipped, if it would have been ruled a hit, okay, and the Nationals challenge in wanting it to be an out, I think it would have ended up being a hit. So that's what's so bizarre about the whole thing, is that the impact of what the call on the field was, and that's what they go with.
Yeah, it was frustrating. And then, bottom of the 7th, Matt Boyd was still in the game. He didn't have a high pitch count. He gives a solo home run up to Ahmed Rosario. Dustin, look where this pitch was. Look where this pitch was right here on the Rosario home run. It was way out of the zone. It was in the opposite batter's box. I'm not going to get mad at Matt. You know what I mean? That wasn't like we talked about like last Colin Ray's start where they're all center.
Right.
Not even close.
Yeah, it wasn't center cut. It didn't hold too much of the plate, all that type of stuff. I mean, it was down the middle, but it was way outside, right? I mean,
right.
So.
It was a good piece of hitting, and he hit it to the right part of the ballpark. Boyd's still in the game in the bottom of the 8th. That's where I thought Craig Counsell made a mistake. I thought he should have had someone come right out of the pen. He gave up a leadoff single to Alex Call. He gets Riley Adams to pop out, but Nasim Nunez with doubles, scoring Cowell, and giving the Nationals a 2-0 lead, a key insurance run. That would be it for Boyd. He'd go 7 1/3, gave up 2 runs on 4 hits, 1 walk, and 6 Ks. He deserved better than to get hung with that loss. Genesis Cabrera finished up the 8th for the Cubs. I think he's looked pretty good, Genesis.
Yeah, he's been kind of quietly with some really nice performances. Agreed.
Now, we know the Cubs always play till the 27th out. Top of the 9th, 1 out. Dansby singles, tying run at the plate. Nico would fly out to right. Michael Busch singled to put runners at the corner. Justin Turner supposed to come up, but no. Craig Counsell calls on Kyle Tucker to pinch hit. First time since jamming his finger. He represents the winning run, but alas, no joy in Wrigleyville. The mighty Tucker grounds out to end the game. Cubs lose 2-0. Gore and the Nats pen shut the Cubs out on 5 hits, 2 walks. The Cubs were 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position and left 8 men on base. PCA and Swanson were a combined 0 for 8 with 5 strikeouts. PCA struck out 3 times. That was only, Dustin, the 3rd time this season that the Cubs have been shut out. So, you know what? Sometimes you tip your hat. That was a really good pitching performance by Mackenzie Gore, one of the best in the game.
It was, but I want to say this, and this has got me in trouble on the Molly and Haw show. Let's see if it'll get me in trouble on the Fly the W podcast. I mean, we've been calling for Michael Busch to go ahead and bat against a lefty. But should it have been that lefty, right? I mean, this is one of the better lefties out there. They bat him 7th. I mean, there's so many things here. I don't understand why Carson Kelly was batting 4th in this game. I mean, at the end of the day, it probably doesn't matter. And, we're going to get to it. But the other issue I had, if you finally are going to have Kyle Tucker pinch hit, if he's available to pinch hit, I think then he should have been available to DH. What's the difference? He's not playing in the field. So what's the difference if you're going to bring him up and he's got to stay mentally ready, be in the game, mentally prepared, then you may as well have had him get 4 at-bats in the DH spot.
I think in general, it's kind of one of those only use break in case of glass, right? Break glass in case of emergency. And
that was what they get to an emergency. Okay. I mean, that's a way to look at it. I'm just saying after the fact, it's easy to armchair quarterback that one.
I would say because of the Tucker injury, that's why Busch was in there, because both Tucker and Busch were both in the game. Both Tucker and Busch were in the game. And my only thing is that's why you want him to have at-bats against lefties. There may be a situation where Kyle Tucker can't bat. God forbid. But that's why you need to give him some at-bats against lefties and not have him come in against one of the best in the game to start against a lefty. If he has more opportunities, he may do better against a Mackenzie Gore. We don't know. I got our friend here, Scout's Eye View says, Boomer Sooner. Love Cade Horton. I know those the Cub fans in Oklahoma, the CFIOs love them some Cade Horton. He pitched for them many years. And I've gotten to meet a lot of the coaches that worked with Cade when he was a younger guy. And, they're just great people and they love their Cade Horton. But Dustin, this takes us to tonight, game 3, Drew Pomerantz versus Jake Irving, right? And so Drew Pomerantz was the opener for Ben Brown the other day. He's going to open up for Colin Ray, and he started the game. He faced CJ Abrams. And Dustin, I will say this. The Nationals have a lot of good young talent on that team. We said that the other day, and they're just not there yet, but you can see signs of them kind of breaking out of this. And so he hits one to right field on the line. He tries to overstretch it into a double, but he's thrown out by a Kyle Tucker, who's in the lineup today.
Yeah.
Right. But Kyle Tucker throws
look back and look good. Yeah.
Yeah. CJ Abrams overslides the bag. Swanson does a great job of keeping the tag on him. Colin Ray would come into the game in the second. He pitched okay. He was helped out by a lot of good defensive plays, some by himself on comebackers, but it still wasn't as crisp as we were hoping for. He gave up 5 hits, 1 walk, a lot of loud contact. Dustin, he didn't strike out a single batter. So that to me, I'm kind of just sitting there watching that. And I know everyone's, let's get Ben Brown in the bullpen or so. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on Colin Ray just yet. He did a great job.
The Cubs, Crawly. That's why I think we saw what we saw.
Right. Bottom of the second, Busch makes a great play on a line of the outfield grass to rob Keibert Ruiz of extra bases. Bottom of the third, Robert Hassel singles. He tries to stretch it into a double. Ian Happ throws him out thanks to a good tag by Nico. 2 outfield assists in 3 innings. Dustin, they almost got the third on a play by PCA, who almost threw out Josh Bell, who made a Javi-type slide to avoid the tag. But Dustin, I don't know the last time the Cubs had outfield assists from every single outfield spot. I don't know if it's been done yet. I'm going to see if I could try to hit up a couple people to figure that out. But I did
hear on the broadcast. I thought they did give a statistic the last time that happened.
So the last time they had 3 outfield assists was in, I want to say in 2007, 2008, but 2 were by Alfonso Soriano and 1 was by, I believe, Darrell Ward. Okay. And so that wouldn't have been the 3 outfield spots. So that was the last time they had 3 outfield assists, which they would have had if PCA would have thrown it out. But the bigger question is all 3 from left, center, right, because that would have been something. But Ray ran out of gas in the bottom of the 7th, 1 out. Josh Bell doubles. He hits Alec Call with the ball. His night's over. Caleb Thielbar comes into the game. He gets Luis Garcia to pop out, but Robert Hassel hits a single to load the bases for the dangerous CJ Abrams. With a count 2-2, Thielbar buckles Abrams with a 12-6 curveball to get out of the inning. Dustin, that was such a big pitch, and this bullpen has really started to come into its own.
Oh my gosh, really? They're really much better than I think even we give them credit for.
Now, the Cubs would not get shut out in game 3. Kyle Tucker, we said, is back. He would double with in the first inning with 1 out. Seiya would strike out. PCA would hit a 2-run homer to center. I mean, just unbelievable the power the kid has. Top of the 2nd, Matt Shaw leads off with a single, moves to 2nd on a ground bout. And then Ian Happ rips a double to make it 3-0 for Ian Happ. That was his 500th RBI, Dustin. And this is kind of an interesting stat right here about Ian's 500th RBI. This is by John Steinmiller. There have been 2,270 players to play a game for the Cubs. Ian Happ is just the 35th in team history with 500 RBIs. Think about that. That is just an impressive stat right there.
Very impressive.
Ian was not done. Top of the 6th, Reese McGuire singles, and Happ hits a 2-run bomb to right field, a triple-decker. But here's another shocking stat, Dustin. That was Ian's only his 4th home run of the season, his 2nd on the road. His first home run on the road, his first home run was on opening day, domestic opening day, March 27th in Arizona. So it's been a while since he's had a road home run. But Ian Happ was still not done. Top of the 9th, Cubs up 5-0. Michael Busch walks. Nico grounds out. There's 2 outs, but Busch is on 2nd. Nico would then take his place at 1st on a ground out. Matt Shaw singles to put runners at the corners. He steals 2nd. Reese McGuire singles to score Nico, and Ian Happ would single. The Cubs take a 7-0 lead. That's how this one would end. The Cubs scored 7 runs on 15 hits. Only 1 walk. They were 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Ian Happ 3 for 6 with 4 RBIs. Seiya was 2 for 4 with a walk. Matt Shaw 3 for 5 with 2 stolen bases. And Dustin, for the 4th time this season, all 9 batters in the lineup had a hit.
Pretty impressive, right? Pretty impressive. Everybody chipping in.
But I will tell you, Dustin, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, the Cubs played 21 games against teams with a losing record in a row just now. And they went 16-5. They swept the White Sox, swept the Rockies. They've now won, Dustin, 7 series in a row.
Right. 16-21, right? 7 series in a row.
16-21, 7 series in a row. And this is what we said they needed to do. This is what you do. You make hay against teams like this. But now, Dustin, the schedule is going to get harder. And so I think this is a really good test. And for me, more than anything, to see the Cubs offense on the road, not having to play in like 50-degree weather. I know it was warm in Washington, D.C. It's going to be warm this weekend in Kansas City. But I think to see the offense score a bunch of runs in game 1, a bunch of runs in game 3, I think that was impressive. And so now you got to go against the Tigers, the Phillies. Obviously, the Pirates are not a good team, but it's a 4-game series. You're going to have to face Paul Skeens. You got a series against the Brewers, who are red hot. Seattle, the Cardinals are not going away, so they got a tough stretch coming up here. June is going to be a little bit of a rough month, but that's the good thing about the Cubs, putting together this big stretch of wins and still being in first place. So they made it through a tough April. They did really good in an easier May. Now let's see what they do in June.
Yep. June is going to be a big month. Big series, obviously, coming up in Detroit. And you'll be there, Crawly. Crawly's people are going to Detroit. Motown, baby.
You know right now, as far as it goes, that if the Cubs are going to be there and it's going to be a battle of first place teams, then yes, we have to be there to support our Cubs, Dustin. And we will give you a preview of that upcoming. Thank you for everybody that tuned in late night to watch. The episode is going to be dropping tomorrow, wherever you stream your podcast. And we will have this also on the Crawly's Club YouTube page tomorrow morning. And I'll be checking in all throughout this weekend in the Motor City. Cub fans, thank you for watching, and go Cubs.